I was trying to think if there's a short.
And Circle K's got to be a dead end.
Yeah, out that way is. Yeah.
So, but they're also very flushable because they're good water.
Correct, right.
Yeah. Whereas when you get a Basel lines, old lines,
Yep.
we're getting ready to replace the vast majority of the lines to Basel.
Yeah.
And so flushing that'll be more useful when we're only flushing the last little bit.
Yeah,
I
mean,
everything to the tower.
Yeah.
It's only it's a small line.
Yeah, I think it's a 4 inch. Yeah, having that down there, it could be a 2 inch just from build up.
And we added a flush hydrant there on Basel as well.
Yeah, that's right. I remember that. So we do have hydrants at the end of the end, so we can't flush them.
Some of them, no. Yeah, halfway up Basel, there's a hydrant, and it doesn't really carry enough pressure to make a difference. So I don't open it because it just starts.
That will get remedied.
Correct.
That'll.
Yeah, that and redoing this line right here will help out. It's really old.
You talk about this line right here, talking about Market Street.
Yes.
So that's what we really need to jump on somehow.
Well, that's planned. It's in this package here. I think I put it in this portion. I think that's for 2020.
Market Street water line replacement, 10,560 feet. Yeah, $2.3 million.
It's due for 2028.
So if those lines were all replaced, I'm just generally asking questions.
Correct. Yeah.
I mean, there's light at the end of the tunnel with these lines.
100%. Yeah, there's a decent amount of sediment. I mean,
I feel like from this point, like this week, a lady, who went with you, Brian, to that lady's house? Well, that is like eons compared to what we've ever done. I feel like before, because she called me and she said, "Look, they came to my house, answer the questions." I know you guys don't got time to do that kind of stuff all day long, but that is a good thing because we want people to like us here. I feel like
correct.
Nobody cared, and I appreciate, just so you know, I appreciate you going over and doing it. I know you don't have time to do that all the time, but she publicly thanked us as well, and I appreciate that. That's the kind of stuff. That's the kind of stuff that we need.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's hard. You're at home sitting on the couch.
We had a good conversation with the folks out there, and one of the things that I mentioned to them was when I first came on, we got a lot of complaints about brewing water. The complaints we get now is about pouring water.
Yeah, they don't like the smell or the taste of chlorine, but they have to taste it.
Yeah, it hasn't been in the water.
Well, and here's what I'll tell you: like the people on Granville Street that I know, that are friends and relatives of mine, they love their water.
The ones that just had the water line.
Yeah, they're just like, this isn't normal for us. You know what I mean? So I guess I just want to hear you say that.
I know. Ideally, the issues in the past have been lack of chemical treatment, and the lack of flushing. Combining those two things, you get a lot of sediment sitting in some of these old pipes, and getting these pipes replaced and continuing to put good water into these pipes is what people need.
Okay, so we need to find about $3 million to do the big one.
Look at this report.
Yes.
Yeah, this is good. Yeah.
I'm nice mine was, I think we see it.
You're welcome.
And if anybody's interested, I don't know if you've seen this yet. This is the new water line that's going in on Washington. This is the thickness of that line.
That's a good thing.
Let me show this to you today.
That's a 12-inch line. Right?
Right. Yeah.
I feel like the guys that are doing these new water lines, you guys feel this too, that they're doing a good job too.
Yeah, they definitely.
The company that's doing it. I mean, all right.
So you guys go through the report, and if you guys have questions, I can ask somebody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eli. For Scott. Eli?
Have we had any overflows this year? Each time it rains, or just one or two?
Come on up, Eli, because we're going to talk for a while. Yeah.
Turn on the microphone.
Yeah. Hold it down.
He's talking about like this.
Eli now?
Well, one of the metrics we used to get was if there was an overflow, it had to be recorded EPA, so we were also aware. And that's something that they left out.
You did give that to me.
I did give it to you.
Yeah.
Every time that we overflow, now depends on EPA is if it happens one day and it continues on for 3 or 4 days, it's only one reportable offense. So you only have to report it one time.
Right.
So that's probably why I think we did 2 this January, I believe. We did 2, but one of those was for a cleaning because we can't isolate the membranes down to clean anymore because the gates are broke.
Gates are being worked on the 5th.
Yes, the gates will be fixed.
They'll bring a crane in and do that.
We boarded them, they came in finally,
Okay.
so now we're gonna.
So the gates are getting repaired. Yeah. Okay. Now, one of the things Karen used to complain about was every time we had an overflow, she had to report each day as a separate overflow. That's not the case. Is that a change?
It's not a change. It's the permit that I've seen that from 2019 when they offered the new permit is what I've read.
That's all.
Yep.
Okay.
No,
Did you remember
that's-
way? I do remember that. That was her, every single meeting she would complain, well, now 3 of these were the same overflow, but we had to report 3 separate overflows because it continued for 3 days.
I do remember that.
You
But
don't,
that was one, yeah, okay.
you don't have to. For the permit, you don't have to.
Okay.
So.
So if we can add those to this metric, it's just, it's something that
I made a
I.
note.
You
Yeah.
got it.
You did give it
For
to me.
December, I'm not sure if I did it for January.
It seems to me like for last year, it was, I want to say right around a half a dozen from the time that,
From the time I started here in July, I think maybe we had 2 reportable ones. The other ones we were able to capture with the EQ basins and stuff because we were able to do it.
okay, well, I stand corrected. I thought it was a little bit higher, but okay. You sent the information to me already. I was just trying to recall. And you've done your capital improvements report, which I'll share with council once I have it printed. And we talked a little bit about the improvements at the plant, changing the gates. The stems had to be replaced. The stems were totally,
Stems were like S's. So if you just take a stem that goes up and down, our stems look like this. So they could never close. So for you to actually clean up membrane, you have to take one out, put it into another one. So now you're taking 2 offline and having 2 in service. That doesn't do very well. It doesn't keep up, not at all. So that's what's terrible about the situation that we're in now. So getting these gates in next week is going to be a game changer. Now we're going to be able to do the maintenance cleaning, where I don't think that was done. I think every time that they did a clean, it was a recovery clean. But you guys always hear about the chlorine, and then you'll always hear about the citric acid. That's a recovery clean. Those are only supposed to be done once or twice a year,
Right.
at the most.
Right.
The chlorine ones are supposed to be done 3 or 4 times a week, but it's supposed to be pumped in to a separate pump, not taking offline and filling up with water and then put chlorine in it.
those 2 pumps are not currently operational, but we're going to get them.
We are trying to get that up.
Yeah.
So just taking time.
Yeah.
I mean, I came into this a little blind, so it's just taking time for us to get caught up and read up
And it's
on
not
it.
a standard plant, so.
It's not, and there's only 5 of these in the state of Ohio.
Right.
One of them's a Coca-Cola plant, but they only do fresh water. They don't do any kind of wastewater. The closest one I think is Galena Township.
Is Anheuser-Busch and Coca-Cola the same?
I don't think so.
No,
No,
I told Anheuser-Busch on Coca-Cola.
they might. I mean, I can talk to a guy.
I don't know, but it's a whole different use. It's a whole
Yeah,
different use.
I get it, and it's easier, right?
And the membranes bring their own set of problems. And
They do.
we talked a little bit about this with taking water from the paper mill, and I put it in my report. It does introduce some byproducts into our plant that aren't being treated prior to the water coming to our plant. That's probably a good thing to look at. I'm not going to say this is a direct cause, but it's probably a good thing to look at as to why these membranes have lasted only about 5 years.
5 years.
Right.
They're
Designed to last 12.
I found a research article about that. I don't know. I sent it. Did you get it?
I got it.
Okay, yeah. It's the lignin,
Lignin.
byproduct of pulp manufacture. Lignin recovery is done by membrane filtration. So they recover it to use it to make wood glue. So if the paper mill is discharging amounts of lignin and we're using a membrane plant, then it's capturing the lignin, which essentially makes wood glue, so it's gumming everything up. I mean, potentially. I don't have any proof or anything, but it's a working theory that makes sense.
And we've talked about capturing some of that wood the water before it gets to the plant, either from their pre-treatment plant or before it gets into ours, and having it tested. And you were looking into finding a place that could test for it.
So we use bacteria on our end. We use 3 gallons a day, which Manufacturer said that's fine. I just reached out to him today. I told him what our usage was. He said that's fine. He also said, so I didn't know, that the paper mill also uses the same bacteria. He's just not sure how much they use. So our thoughts is we're going to start sampling for linguine for an entire month. It's just hard to find a place that's able to sample that. So right now we've reached out to Mazai and they're talking to the Department of Agriculture to see if we can find a place to at least sample this. And my thoughts were 3 times a week for a month, just to see where we're at. If we need to do it on an every week basis, then we will. But that's where we're at with that. Not the only course of action we have, because even I had a pump airlock on me and we drained, a lot of it out or whatever, and I could see that the wood fibers and everything in my basement. So we were spraying it out. So I'm not saying it's their fault or anything like that, but something to keep an eye on.
And I think the big concern here is that if we need to replace those membranes, if something needs to change before we do that, to keep us from having to replace them again in 5 years, we need to make sure that we do that.
To be honest with you, you guys had this plan up and running in 2007, 2008. They made it all the way to like 2019, 2020. I think that's when we put them in. Right now, when we did a chlorine treatment. We've also done a citric acid treatment on them, and we're seeing a little bit of PCI difference or PSI difference. But as far as gallons per minute or whatever, we're not seeing that big of a jump from cleaning them. We were at 120. We got up to 160 for about 2 weeks. We're back down to 140. So we're not seeing that big jump to where initially when you'd have that maintenance clean that automatically does it with the pumps, you'd see it always standing around about 300 gallons a minute. That way, we'll be able to handle the flow that comes in, even if we're buying time. But we're just not getting those results now.
So each one of the membranes is not handling obviously the maximum intake.
Maybe. And that's after a citric acid clean, which is supposed to be the end all be all.
New again.
Supposed to be. So we did, we'll just put it in perspective. We did the chlorine soak for a day and a half. We did the citric acid for 48 hours, and we kept it at pH, I think, at like a 2.4, somewhere around there. And we just let it stand for 2 days. And when we put them back in service, we didn't even get nowhere close to 200 gallons a minute. We got a 3 PSI differential. That's it.
So it sounded though like if the gates were repaired, your rinses would be able to be more effective.
We'd be able not to take one from one and take it to another one and have to take 2 offline. We can actually just shut one down, give it a good 3 or 4 day soak if we need to, and then put it back online.
You're not shutting down.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. Then the other one is, if you take the pumps, it's actually going from the middle to the out.
Okay.
So whereas if you do this kind of cleaning that we're doing now, you're just going from the out to the in. So the pumps will actually push it in through the out.
So it's more like a backwash.
Yep. It's
not
not
a backwash.
It's not doing anything.
That should make a huge.
And I don't know how long it's been like that, but
It might have been that way 10 years. You had
I had no
clue
clue.
why.
That's what I'm saying, because I don't know how old these pumps are. I have no idea how long this stuff has been sitting here.
And I'll clarify something too, because Mr. Foreman asked me about whether or not the plant was running on auto a couple of weeks ago. And I got you an answer, but then I talked to Eli the next day and he explained that, what do you mean by auto? Because there's a couple of different things that run on auto there. Can you explain?
So the first one is, if I have it in auto for the gallons per minute, that's 300. So automatically when those MBR things kick on, it'll go right to 300. So that's auto. They kick on to 300 and they can't hold it, they just shut down.
Okay.
So I have to put it in manual at 150 gallons a minute so they stay running.
So they're not clean enough to run on auto.
No. And there's not a lot of things that are on auto, like the VFDs, the blowers, a lot of the DO, the pH meters and stuff like that. None of that stuff is in auto.
I know before you were here, the one and only citric rinse that we had done, I know we ran on what they call auto for like a week after that. And so we got a heavy rain. We got heavy rain, they were fouled again, now we're going on auto again as far as I know.
November 22.
That makes sense. That's what you're telling me.
November 22, as I've seen that one in council minutes, I think Tim Little said, hey, we're in auto. And then that following meeting in December, he's like, we're not in auto anymore.
Right.
So,
and when I say that, I guess for me, that was explained to me as the easy way to know if the filters are operating as they're supposed to. If they're not running on auto, there's something wrong. It needs fixed. Now, whether that needs new media or not
Right.
is another question. But if it's not running on auto, it's not operating correctly.
And there's, like I said, it's just not the membranes running on auto. It's
Right.
a lot of the other things that aren't running on auto. Recirculation pumps, manual, PID pumps, manual. Everything is manual. Floats. We don't even know where some of the floats are tied up to the railing. So we're just trying to get a handle on what we're doing. We're trying to do initially we're trying to get rid of the I&I. I understand that, but I think internally we're going to be behind the 8 ball if we focus a lot more on I&I, and when these new houses come in, we're still going to have the problem.
Yeah, well, we gotta get this.
We gotta get something done. I understand.
Sounds like you're on top of getting some fixed.
I do.
If we're gonna have some of these houses, because then we don't want to say, hey, here, by the way, there's another 100 houses you got to contend with.
Well, yeah, I mean, back in 2015, I did a lot of research on things, here in the village or whatever, just so I could get up to speed. But even in 2015, they were not happy with the situation. They were shutting off the plant at nighttime,
right?
Because of the power usage was too high for them, and they ran out of money in October, so they had to shut it down from 4 p.m. till the next day at 8 a.m. and then they turned it back on, which wasn't good.
No.
So, and then even at that time, they were thinking about changing the way they did it. Like they wanted to get rid of this MBR plant and put something else in. So I didn't want to
add. It's a lot of money.
For the amount of I&I we have here, I could see a return activated sludge plant because it can handle shock loads a lot better, and we'd be better off. There's lots of things that we can do with this plant to make it better and more efficient.
Yeah, I mean, simple things that should have been fixed weren't fixed.
They weren't, and money has a lot to do with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it sounds like some of the stuff you're doing now is just maybe common sense stuff too. Right?
Yeah, and to say that money has something to do with it, we seem to end the year we didn't even spend it all. So if we didn't fix it, we didn't spend all the money. What the heck did we do?
Because a lot of this stuff, and I gave Brian a little bit. I mean, back in 2020, they thought about expanding the lagoon a little bit. They added
another these dredge before it needs expanded.
That's $1 million. So that's a lot of money to dredge that. It's not so much to dredge as actually to take the dry tons to the landfill. That's the most important part. That's insane. When he told me that
can't be spread on fields.
It can be, but again, we're still going to have to pull it out, put it somewhere, let it dry, and have Carl or whoever put it on. But even Carl with 3 bags is $14,000-$15,000.
Well, we never really get the chance to dry it out.
Yeah.
In the lagoon, we have to take it out of the lagoon.
Yeah.
It's back to the sludge press now.
Yes.
Well, Carl won't be draining anything.
We had one. Did anybody? You had one.
I had one. I had PW.
You saw it down there. Talked to the guy. Yeah, but you didn't feel like it was. It didn't dewater enough to make it worth the investment on it.
Because one of the other things that we run into is we're not capable of removing a lot of sludge. So the mixed liquor, which is the amount of solids that you have at your plant at one time, is supposed to be between 6,000 and 8,000, 6 to 8,000. We have to keep it around 10,000 because we only have so much room to be able to waste on a daily basis. So when you're trying to push like this much sludge through something like this, it's not going to go. So you want to thin it out so it'll actually go through. It's not able to do that.
How long ago was this sludge tank project?
20, I think that was when they were doing it.
You probably remember the sludge tank.
I do.
Yeah. But that never happened either. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you guys for your time.
Yeah.
2 more quick things, and
Holy smokes.
not for you, but we're looking at the 2 pages of my report. The water and sewer tap. Consider whether or not we need to increase those.
Yeah, well, hold on to that, because we're going to talk about that.
Okay. And then the last page is just if anyone's having trouble watching the meetings or we're going to add a new what's it called? A who? Access point in this room in the ceiling, so that the internet will be available here. More powerful.
Yeah,
It sounded like some of the problem was that all the mics are turned on and there's so much background noise that you can't hear the person talking.
Well, but the guy said when he was here that if we had the internet here, then everybody could hear everybody can see it, would be clear on the internet, like the picture.
Okay.
You know,
I've already been
The
kicked
sound
off
is
once.
what most people were complaining about, and there was so much background noise that they couldn't hear an individual speaking. Because of the background noise. Yeah.
I mean, I've been on Zoom many times and it's not, I don't think it's a background noise, it's just poor quality.
You can adjust that on your computer. There are ways that you can, I've done it in my office when I've gone back and listened to meetings. You can adjust the YouTube, the volume and the tone and things. So you might want to try that.
Okay.
So we move on to second?
Yeah.
So,
Sorry.
we're nothing with the parks and.
No. Parks and Rec Board.
Park and Rec Board meets tomorrow night,
Yeah.
5 o'clock. We'll be here. Anybody else wants to join us?
All the representatives from all the.
At what time?
5 o'clock. 1700 for the entry.
Have anything? Anything for the rest of you for-
I do have something. So, Jill, she reached out to me. Jill reached out to me because there is a production in March. She's just kind of concerned because there are going to be numerous cars on Washington Street. So the conflicting dates, and I told her, I'm like, all of these dates are in and
Yeah.
I don't know, but I'm just, all I
They'll have
said,
the
I
parking
would.
lots, the school parking lots. They'll be able to access those, but as far as street parking, it's just.
So it's Jill Hamlin. She had reached out to me, so that's basically what I said. So just want to remind everyone, let's, please go see the. production.
What's the date on that? We'll get it to Chief Rogers so he knows.
Can I get back to you? I need to look at my exact.
All right, well, Park. No other business for, service? Motion to adjourn. Next meeting is, fourth Monday in March, which is the 25th. Motion made at, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Who seconded it?
We are.
We're adjourned. If I may, so the Peter Pan production is at LU March 15th.
That was a lot of information for this, we did last year. So trying to put that on that. We'll tweak them a little bit so it's a little easier to read.
No, it's, yeah.
We're ready for safety then. Mm-hmm. You'll call us to order? Hey, Phillips, McCreary,
Present.
Reedy. Also, we have the mayor, VA, police chief, the solicitor, the mayor, Darla Reedy. Oh, sorry. He's here twice. Foreman and Schaffner. Okay.
Approve the minutes.
Go right down the agenda. Approval of the minutes is next.
Approving